right, so working on the video processing tool again. So as a recap, we are working on a tool for managing. Hold on, let me pull up the README. A tool for managing stream recordings is kind of the summary, right? So we are looking to manage stream recordings. So like when I'm streaming, like right now, I'm also making a local recording. My disk is still filling up with those videos. Ingesting them into a database, providing a web interface for searching, analyzing, passing them to like DaVinci Resolve or something, and then like ultimately, I want to make like a streaming dashboard thing for me, and maybe tie this into some other things in the future. I'm aware that this is kind of a it's a little bit meta, right? So I'm doing live coding streams, working on a tool that it's about streaming, but there you go. At least it's a topic that relates to itself. Okay, so what's going on? What's new? So, since the last stream, which was just the day before yesterday, I did make a few other changes. I did implement the stream ingestion API because I wanted to just mess around with that. It seemed like the next thing to do in terms of getting data into the system. So that seemed like a good thing. And then that turned into a whole thing. But then, oh, right. Then the other thing that I wanted to do was I really disliked, oh, hey, Brainless. Welcome. How's it going? How is your Thursday morning going? Procrastinating? Well, I thank you for procrastinating by hanging out with me. How am I? I'm doing good. I got some coffee here. I'm slowly imbibing. And then just trying to remember where things were at. It's nice since that I have this whole time off from work that I can I have time to attend to personal things outside of streaming, but also I took a couple hours yesterday to kind of work a little bit more on this project and keep it moving forward. And it's very different from working on a project just like once a week in terms of like getting the context back. So that's a positive thing. Right. So one of the things I really I disliked about how things were going before was in every single handler for our API, we were getting a connection from the pool, and so I essentially copied and pasted the same set of like, what is this, 8 lines to every single file, and I seemed to recall that there was potentially a better way that Axom provided, and you can see that over here. So I created a custom, these are called extractors in Axom terminology. So like we have an extractor to get JSON from the request body. And previously we were using the state extractor to get the state, the app state. So that went away. And instead, I made a custom extractor that I put into the common API lib called DB connection. And DB connection is defined up here. It is a struct that is that holds a connection wrapper. And there's a little bit of indirection here because, because of tracing. And specifically, because this DB connection is an argument to a handler and we have instrument on for tracing, it wanted to have the thing inside a DB connection have the debug trait so that it could be like logged, traced. I mean, go figure. So I added a little introduction here so that we have a custom debug implementation for connection wrapper that doesn't try to then dump out the contents of the actual pooled connection, because pooled connection doesn't implement debug. That does mean that there is, like if we look here in this implementation here, so we get a DB, is what I'm calling this, that we get from DB connection, and we do db.connection to actually get a hold of the connection, rather than just being a like DB connection and passing it here. But that's not, I don't think that's a huge deal. And that, this, so here's what a custom from request parts trait does. So this is an Axom thing, the web framework, we could call it, that I'm using here. And so we can extract from an extension. So previously, I was using app state to hold the pool. So there's this other thing, and I'm not going to spend too much time on. I do want to move on to like doing even newer things, but since this is something that happened since the last stream, I figured I'd touch on it because it's pretty neat. It's pretty a clean way of handling this. If I can find where that's defined. Where? Here we go. CRUD API SRC main. So we have the app, right? And this is like a router struct that we're calling these route methods on. You can also call layer. And so there's this extension thing from Axom routing, or from Axom rather. And then we can just pass a pool into it. And through magic, if we ask for extension pool in these places, or rather in wherever I define the custom extractor. Here we go. So if I ask for parts.extract extension pool, I get the pool. And then I can say, hey, give me a connection. And then I put it in my connection wrapper, and that's it. So this was like, not the first thing I tried. This is like 3 or 4 iterations of attempts to make something like this work so that I wouldn't have to duplicate those 8 lines in every single handler. And instead, it's just one. That in and of itself might not have been worth it, but learning the general capability of being able to make custom extractors to like either get stuff from the request metadata or the request body, which would be slightly different. It would be from request instead of from request parts, or to get it from the like extensions layered into the like request response pipeline. I think is a general tool here that will probably be applicable other places. So this does mean that in like an AI API, the thing that was originally the test API that we started, we made a couple weeks ago, that now has an empty app state. Much scrolling, hold on. Yeah. So and the CRUD API too. Yeah. The AI API is not empty because it still has the OpenAI API key, but CRUD API just has an empty app state because the only thing we were passing around was the pool, and now that's handled via that extension layer. Other things, I added Nginx as a proxy service to sit in front of our other APIs. So we have the CRUD API that we've been working on, and then the stream ingestion API, which I implemented yesterday. The whole purpose of the stream ingestion API is essentially I have a folder of video files. Let's see. I'm working on bringing that over. Hey, look, it's 550 20-minute video segments. It's only 2.88 terabytes of data. So I have this folder of files, and what I want to do is I want to scan that. I want to load all that information about those video files and put it into the database eventually. The stream ingestion API does part of that. It does the reading part. And in fact, if we look at the README, which I'll pull open here, maybe view file. There we go. I know how to GitHub. So there's a lot going on, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing. This whole thing is on GitHub. It's a public repo at Saban Glowing Telegram. The TLDR. Here we go. I implemented this, and there's probably a Rust crate. I didn't even bother looking. I just thought it'd be fun to implement this myself. Yeah, is that a response to the number of video files and the amount of data? I mean, it's less than 3 terabytes. I made this ffprobe. So ffprobe is a command line utility that's part of ffmpeg. And maybe. And so I just implemented a thing to deserialize. You can tell, here we go. You can run ffprobe, and you can tell it to output JSON and tell you everything about the format of the file and the streams. That would be like the video container content, and then any audio tracks, all of that information. And then you can just output it as JSON, and then I'm using SERDI to deserialize that output string. Several iterations to figure out how to make SERDI deserialize various string values to various integer values. Brainless says, and hear me living with 250 gigabytes because something Windows is still taking a partition because I can't back up my files and format my drive. Yeah. Once you start dealing with a lot of video, so this is right. So I bought 3 2 terabyte NVMEs. Yeah. And so I have 2 striped together for video editing, and then a single one standalone. And then I have external enclosure that's got a 2 terabyte drive in it, an SSD. And then I have a 1 terabyte HHD, and then a main drive is a 1 terabyte SSD, which is wild. My first computer had a 1 gigabyte drive. That was long ago, though, of course. Times have changed in some ways. Vite API URL equals localhost 8080 API. Does that even work? Well, yes. Well, because it's not. And in fact, that is a good question. Let's take a look at that. Let's see. Docker compose. Here we go. So I have a comment here. It says from end user perspective, right? This is not the API. This is not because Vite isn't doing anything itself. It's just serving static content. In other words, right? In other words, this setup is for like interactive development, where I just want Vite like run dev, to run. In real life, what I would do instead is I would just have a build process that would generate the front end, and then maybe just have Nginx serve it. So this is only being used to like insert this URL into the static assets, right? So when we look at the front end, it's not calling it from inside the container. No, this is just being interpolated into something that's being returned in the JavaScript that's compiled. Yep. So this is just so that when the user loads the front end in their web browser, the JavaScript they'll receive will have that string from here in it. So in real life, this would be like, you know, my video management app .app or something. I don't know if that's a real domain name, but anyway, it could be. Make that an environment variable and set at env. Yeah, we'll do that. I mean, it's early days. Like, I mean, all the other local hosts are good because they're addressing the container themselves. But we have to do a bunch of stuff here. Like, we can't do this for credentials for the database, IRL, other things to do. Yeah, thank you, Streamlabs. Okay, so, right. Okay. So this actually works, and it pulls a bunch of data using ffprobe and just like scanning all the files. And so it provides a find files API. I should probably also pull up Postman. That's going to be relevant. I might even be able to run this. Now this is not instantaneous, but it's still pretty fast. It scans over the directory, and the way I have this set up with a prefix of 2023-11-28, so this is from the last coding stream, essentially. This finds all of the files in that folder that start with that prefix. And then it tells me all sorts of information, like here's the audio bitrate, here's the number of audio tracks. That's right, every single recording from the stream has 4 audio tracks because it's convenient for various reasons to have your first audio track have like all the sound mixed together. And then I have a separate like audio track for speech, and then for music, and then for like application or game sounds. What happens if you replace the prefix with star? Well, I think it's not going to work because there's nothing that starts with star. Yeah. But what you could do is you could do prefix empty. I don't think I want to do that. That's going to take a little while to scan all 500 and something files, run ffprobe on every single one. So I'd rather not do that. So just can we see counts of entries here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 entries took 1.7 seconds. So 500 entries it would take 55 times longer. So it would take a couple minutes, probably, to scan through everything. We could potentially look at like parallelizing some of that, maybe. But this is fine for now. So the idea is that I'm going to have the front end call this API to be able to find all the video clips associated with the stream based on prefix, and then take that data and like pre-fill a data grid in the UI with this information. So you'll be able to review it and edit it before you actually save it. And that also means that I'm not having to have I really want to avoid. I think it's inevitable that I'm going to have these different services talk to the database, which is something I do want to avoid. But I also don't want I don't want a bunch of services calling each other either, because that's also challenging to manage. So yeah. Anyway, but in this case, it seems relatively straightforward to have the front end call directly into this API to get the list of entries and then preload the UI with them. Okay, so yeah, so this is what it looks like. So we got height, we have width, video bit rate, frame rate, duration, and content type. And then the things I already mentioned, those are all coming from FFProbe. And then the file name, the last modified, the size are coming from just like metadata from the file system. And then I came up with a cute little. Wait, wasn't I gonna use a URI, not a URN? Right, URI versus URN. So URI identifies a resource. URL is a subset of URIs that include a network location. We're not doing this. A URN is a subset of URIs that include a name with a given space but no location. Right. Okay. That matches my understanding, and I think that's just a. How often will this list be fetched, and how often does it change? That's a good question, and that could be significant for like caching and other things too. The answer to your question is probably only once. Like, I will be in the UI. Hey, let's look at the UI. So I'll be in the Streams UI, and I'll be looking at this. And then what I want to do is have like a list of clips associated with the stream, and I want the ability to like do an import. And so generally speaking, for each stream, that endpoint will be hit once with the prefix value and be loaded in. And then it will never change again, right? Because the stream happened. I don't typically modify those files either. Like, I'll load them into a video editor and I'll produce an edited video from them, but I don't edit those clips directly. So they never change, and just once per prefix, so per day. Initially, I don't know. We'll see if I'm going to. I don't know if I will go back and add previous streams and then load in video clips and stuff. We'll see how that goes. But I had a thought of what I was going to do next. But, okay. Oh, yeah. So somewhere we're saying URN. Yeah. This should be URI. Hey, even this says URI, but the field said URN, and that's wrong. So let's fix that. Does this matter? Nope. Does having URN in the front of it matter? No. I did learn that just like in TypeScript, for the structs, you can do the shorthand syntax, so you don't have to do this. And it gives you a little warning too, or a little note. Not even a warning, but yeah. All right. Leftover stuff. I, at one point, got the idea in my head that part of the metadata would be like a hash of the file. That would be like good to have. And then I realized that I would be hashing like gigabytes of data. And I decided against that. So okay. So no more occurrences of URN. That's good. All right. Can we, does this work today? Yay. Ship it. Okay. So, oh yeah, right. So I have a project in GitHub, right? Where I have a list of things that I wanted to do. So let's look at that. So I think the first thing I want to do today is incorporate video clips in the stream UI, right? So right now we have a resource for streams and we have a resource for video clips. I might even be able to create this. Does this work? Aww. Let me pull up Docker. Why did that fail? Should probably get that working before I worry about anything else. So let's see. Why did CRUD API fail? Okay. Why? Oh, why? Failed to parse duration. P0S. Failed to parse duration. Okay. So, right. So we've seen the CRUD API before in previous streams. After I went through and kind of did that refactoring to make it nicer to be able to get the connection, then I copied the whole folder for stream and made one for video clip. And so now we have all these endpoints for video clip. I just did a find and replace for every place it refers to that, to stream, and replace it with video clip. And then I had to go back and do things because the nature of video clips are slightly different than streams. We have like these duration values here for things, and apparently error parsing duration. So this is where the error is coming from. We failed to parse body.duration. Duration value should probably, so let's look at parse duration. So this is a function I made that wraps some other things. Oh, here we go. Here's another thing I should fix. It gives you a warning if you don't use, what is it called when you use underscores? Hold on, what's the warning say? Should have a snake case name. Okay. Okay. So, isn't this the correct syntax for an ISO 8601 duration? You think I would know. I actually have on my desk the ISO 8601 standard. That's part 2. Part 1. Time intervals. Duration. Page 28. This is the downside of not having the camera going for these morning streams. On the plus side, you don't have to see my face in the morning. So yeah, that should be right. P0S. Because it should be a P, and then representations other than complete. For representations other than complete, the following rules apply. If the number of years, months, days, hours, minutes, or seconds in the representation equals 0, the number in the corresponding designator may be absent. However, at least one number and its designator shall be present. The lowest order component may have a decimal fraction. Okay. So we should be able to say P, and then a number, and then an S to represent seconds, and that should be valid. So says ISO 8601-1:2019E. So, what's is wrong here? I mean, obviously this part is working because we don't have a duration because our create form didn't pass a duration in. So this is none, and so it unwraps to instead be this default value. And then we call .parse. And in the log, it says error parsing duration. Failed to parse duration P0S. That's it. So error parsing duration, I think, is our error message. And then the rest is coming from E, which is coming from this parse. A time duration. Can we look at this implementation? So I did get this ISO 8601 crate because the chrono crate supports generating ISO 8601 representations, but not parsing them. So here's the enum for duration. There should be some kind of implementation to handle parsing. Impl from string for date, for time, for date time, for duration. Here we go. From string for duration. It calls duration with the string. Okay, can we... Parsers, parse duration, string as bytes. Oh, hey, here's the message. Failed to parse duration. Okay. Parses a duration string. See duration, create duration for supported formats. Fully specified. Duration and week intervals. Fully specified date time format. Oh. So it doesn't implement the ability to say P and 0S. So it doesn't fully support the standard then. Would it have to do with the I64 versus U32? Where'd you see that? That was a whole minute ago. That was going all the way back. Somewhere in between. Oh, maybe this here. Yeah, this is a U128, and we're casting it to what, assigned 64-bit. It's worse than that. I mean, potentially there is danger here, but it's not the source of the problem. The source of the problem is that this representation is not sufficient. And I think this is wrong anyway, because we don't want to just parse this into an empty duration. I think the database table is, if we look at schema and we look at video clips, oh, it's not optional. It should probably be optional. I don't know. Short-term fix here is to do what it says wherever that example was. Where it's like, oh, you need to fully specify it. Like this. Standard says you don't have to, but this library doesn't implement the partial version of this. So if we want to just do this, this is the same thing as the thing I just had. I just checked 24 hours to microseconds, and it's 8.64e plus 10. So a U16 would work. Yes. Yeah. In this case, we're not dealing with like it's not a timestamp. It's not like a epoch time in microseconds something, because that would be a very large number. Yeah, we're dealing with things that, like, at least in this case, we're dealing with like 20-minute videos. Like all these videos are going to be 20 minutes or less. 20 minutes if it's within the stream, like the body of the stream, or the beginning, and then less than if it's at the end of the stream, because unless the stream is exactly evenly divisible by 20 minutes, it'll be different. Okay, so this might fix things. Let's see. I need to darker compose, up, D, and build. Yeah, but a 24-hour still would fit in a U16, and we have what, 63 bits then? Lots of room. It would be a very long video. Well, this is a duration value, so this could be negative. Could it? No, that doesn't make sense. The PG interval here takes an I64, so why? Does Postgres support the idea of negative time intervals? Postgres interval type. Interval fields, 16 bytes. Yeah, it does support negative values. All right, you have negative infinity can be cast as a timestamp apparently. Yeah, but a stream one. Yeah. It's fair. I mean, so PG interval. Oops. PG interval is coming from Diesel, just kind of representing what the database supports, and we're just kind of mixing. We're just mixing like all these different, we're mixing like the database details with the kind of the model representation a little bit. I mean, effectively, this is translating, right? Between what's through like two levels, right? So we're taking an optional string and we're parsing it through into a representation, and then parsing it, converting that again into what the database supports. Okay, well, anyway, so hopefully that started. Good. Let's go back to the UI. Let's try creating again. That did something. It did create a thing. Oh, but that doesn't work. Okay, so get doesn't work. All right, this is my first time actually trying this. If you can't tell, I mean, the service started, but actually using this API. So we did a get for records video clips with the UUID of the record. Start processing, do the thing. Okay. I don't see an error. Just it didn't find the record. So let's see. That would be get 1. Is something wrong in here? Do we see? There it. No. Huh. I don't see. What about get 1? Nothing. Okay. So it doesn't look like the endpoint was hit. Right, it's because I haven't I haven't defined the other routes. I copied and pasted all the handlers, but I didn't copy and paste the definition of the routes. There. Except for the part where I need to actually change the name of the thing that we're the handler module. Okay, and that seems to be good. So let's build that. Restart the service. Okay. So, make sure list still works, seems to. And we can update it. Now, I didn't even include, I need to add those additional fields here to the UI. We'll get to that at some point. Like the start time and the duration and those other things that are part of video clips aren't here yet. But we can see the record, we could even delete it. Yep. And create a new one. Okay. This view has... Oh, right. Because, unrelated... One second. It just occurred to me. The reason that... Oh, also this is going to fail when we try to save. The reason that... Or will it? That we have all this stuff now is that this UI is using the guesser, the edit guesser. So it's looking at the response to figure out what fields it should show. That's why before we didn't have them, and now we do, just automatically. Hey, look, we can pick a stream. Except it looks like we haven't implemented something. Can we save this? Okay, I see. So I have learned something, I think, which is that in create, instead of spelling out the full interval, maybe the problem was that we needed to have this. All right, so unrelated, you say, brainless. I've been having fun remapping my keyboard with kmonad. Kmonad. There was a window manager I used to use on Linux. It wasn't kmonad. Was it xmonad? It might have been xmonad. Is like kmonad a KDE something or other? All right, let's see if we can create records. We'll have to fix this at some point. You heard about that? Not related? Okay. Just taking a stab in the dark. Test 3. Okay. And that works. Okay. So, is the T really required? Let's see if they got this right and I got this wrong. What was it? Page 26? It was not. 23. Representations. Date and time. This is a project which allows you to swap keys, create layers, use hold or double tap actions on keys. Okay. Create layers, huh? What does that mean? Okay, the usage of the time designator T is specified as 5.3.5. 535. 535. Omission of time designator. So for example, you say, I moved escape to the useless cap lock. Yeah, that's, I mean, cap lock isn't completely useless. It's great for screaming, right? But that's sounds like something, an Emacs. That sounds like something you do for Emacs, right? Because, was it? Or something. You triggered a memory of like rebinding caps lock to be something else that had something to do with Emacs. I don't know. I've used Emacs once or twice. Example of layer. When I hold space, the home row of my keyboard becomes the numbers. Oh, okay. So like just like a different remapping that's context sensitive. Triggered by holding a key. That is interesting. I guess that makes sense. Just trying to imagine. Yeah, I don't think you would accidentally do that otherwise. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. Okay, omission of time designator. In time-only expressions, UTC of day expressions, and time of day with time shift expressions, the time designator may be omitted. Okay, but it doesn't talk about... Well, that's interesting, because if we're talking about a duration, and the duration is only time... and not date parts, then it would be a time-only expression. So the T shouldn't be required. But apparently, this library says that it is required. Okay. And I press J to have my curly brace square bracket parent on the ERDFCV. Yeah, hold J. Because your keyboard is weird and has the curly brace and left and right in different rows. Yeah, that is kind of weird. Having them on different rows. Okay. So we have something that seems to mostly work. We could, improve some things here. But I don't want to get bogged down in that. I want to work on this part. You can even do macros. Nice. Not related at all to that. I was reading more about Rust macros yesterday. And I don't feel confident enough to kind of summarize any of that. But there's some resources out there that exist about macros in Rust. They are closer to macros in Lisp than macros in C. There you go. I think that is a true statement. Okay, so what I want to do next. Basically, it's like getting the functionality of something like the Moonlander for free. You mean... I'm not sure what you mean by that. Is that a thing? Oh, that is a keyboard. I googled it. There's also... Oh, I see. There's a company. And they make the Moonlander, the Voyager. Okay. Well, you've given me something to look at later. And it's customizable. Of course it is. Boy, oh boy. Okay. I don't know. I guess I'm pretty fortunate that, you know, I have been glued to a computer for the past, like, for most of the last 30 years. And just using just a normal vanilla keyboard and not had any kind of repetitive stress entries or anything like that. So I don't know if it's down to habits that avoid that, or genetics, or some kind of combination of that, but lucky me. Thinking of buying one still, but reluctant due to the price. And you're a cheap something. I have all my money on deposits. Okay. Well, was I? All right. So incorporate video clips into Stream UI. So a thing you can do on React Admin is you can do all sorts of things with customizing this view. So let's go kind of split screen here, and we're gonna do some front end stuff. I like front end stuff. Hold on, what have we changed here? Oh yeah, so let's commit this fix. Fix parse duration function to handle duration values correctly. Sure, that is something like a description. And then add CRUD routes for video clips, check. Okay, so now let's work on some front end stuff. So just noticing that this is using camel case. Whatever, doesn't matter, it's fine. So the edit view of the stream resource. So this is what we're seeing when we're looking here, right? So we have a text input for the title and a description. Isn't there... So if I do that, we don't get auto refresh here because of the indirection. Because we're not just like running Vite locally and then directly going to Vite. Isn't it multi-line? Did that, is the... Hold on, let's check Docker really quick. Front end. That looks like... Oh, no. Okay, well that's... I guess I'll restart it. It doesn't even pick up changes. We are mounted, right? So Docker compose front end. The front end directory is mounted into app, but there's probably stuff I need to do to make it so that it would actually support detecting changes in app. Okay, and we have a current thing. Good. So now if I refresh this, still not the right thing. Okay, React admin docs time. Documentation. Oh, this is different. Ooh, fancy. Okay, anyway. Edit. Where is... Here we go, inputs. So there is a text input. There's also a rich text input in the Enterprise Edition. Multi-line. See... Do I need to do this for it to work? So refreshing is not going to do anything there. But I would have thought that restarting the front end. Okay. Oh, okay, okay. It was probably working fine before. Like, if you do that here, it's just a single line, right? Having a multi-line just means that it will grow. Okay. Ooh, there's a resettable option. Neat and handy. Type. It renders as an auto-expandable text area. You can use type email. Rich text. You can use rich text input. But of course, oh, so smart rich text input is the enterprise one. Is there a rich text input? Ooh, okay, and it just injects HTML. What could possibly go wrong? Anyway, I don't care about that. What I do care about is having inside of the simple form a table, a data grid of the associated video clips for the stream, right? So show a data grid of associated video clips for the stream. Okay, so reference array input looks right. I think this is how we would do this. Let's go look at the docs though. So if we look at reference array input, use reference array input to edit an array of reference values to let users choose a list of values from another REST endpoint. I think this is right, because then we can put a... is this right? Children. By default, reference input renders an auto-complete array input to let users select the reference record. Child can be select array input, auto-complete array input, tool list input, checkbox. Okay, this is... I don't think this is what I want then. Isn't there a way... an array of data embedded inside of a record? Like, if we had all the data that was relevant in like an array inside of a field on the stream, then you could use array input and it would look like this. Okay, what about reference array input? That's what we're just on. So we can find, here in this example, there's like tags, right? And you're finding the matching tags. It doesn't let you edit the tags though. Is there a way to have like an in-place edit of a related record? What does reference many input do? Okay, use reference many input in an editor create view to edit one-to-many relationships, to edit the variants of a product in the product edition view. It's an enterprise edition component. Reference many input fetches the related records and renders them in a subform. When users add, remove, or update related records, reference many input component stores these changes locally. When the user actually submits the form, computes a diff, sends the related changes, additions, deletions, and updates to the server. Okay. So, I could spend the money on Enterprise Edition. How much does that cost? Some amount of money. That's an option. Or I could jam the information about the video clips in an array in the response for the stream. And then essentially extend the API for the stream scrud to handle, like, to intermediate the information about the list of video clips associated with the stream. Right? So let's assume I'm doing that, and let's start from the front end. So what we're going to do here is we're not going to use a reference array input. It'll be an array input. And then, yeah, we could do simple form, but I think we can do data grid here. Let's keep it really simple, and we'll just do that. I'll update that import. So now we have this, and this is going to... Yeah, I still think I have to restart the container for Vite to detect our changes, unfortunately. Was this something... Did I fix this at one point in Daily Joule? Or did I mean, I guess I could just run Vite locally. All right. So now that's the end result of what we just did there. We have video clip and no results found. Now, to actually see something here, we need to change the API. So I'm probably just I'm gonna update the struct to add that as something that gets returned in get one, and then I'm just gonna hard code something just to see it work, and then we'll go from there. So incrud API src handlers stream get one. So get one and update and create, and yeah, those ones, they all return stream detail view. So we're going to modify the stream detail view struct to include pub let's see, we'll call this video clip. Don't we have a struct in here? Video clip simple view has an ID, a title, a created and updated at. Okay, so I'll probably just change this UI to show the title. Video clips is a vec of this. No code action available. So we could either import create handlers video clip structs, or we can qualify, so we just put the whole thing right in place. I'll just import. I'll keep this compact, and we just add a use up here. So now we have a list of video clips. And then this gets fun. So for now, what I'll do is I'll make some fake data. Video clip simple view ID, sure, and title. Okay, we need created and updated at. Created at. Yeah. Updated at. None. Okay, that makes that happy. I'm pretty sure this implementation from stream is the only way we're generating the detail view. Otherwise, we would start getting errors because we changed we added another field to the struct. So in the meantime, this fakes the data for us on the back end. So going back to the front end, I'm going to change this to be title. And then let's build everything. And what we should see, every time we look at a stream in the UI, we'll see one entry here that has an ID and a title. Oh, someone called me. How odd. All right. All right, so we should be able to refresh, and that didn't work. Why not? Oh, because it's probably plural? Was it plural here? Video clips? Yeah, this should be plural. This is why this is not plural too. Again, the UI... oh, yeah. The name of the array input that's generated here is based off the source name. Unless we overwrite it by providing a label. Which we don't need to. So anyway... we can just restart the front end. Should be happening. And we're getting these 404s because we haven't implemented the topics CRUD endpoints. So it's trying to look up something somewhere. Oh yeah, so this right here, thumbnail, is a reference array input for the topics. Okay, so video clips, no results found. That's unfortunate. There should have been results. Let's see, XHR. So here's our get one. We have a response, and the response has an array, and it has created at ID title updated at. So that's there. Why is there nothing here? Let's go look at the docs again for reference array input. Or sorry, array input. Array input. So if I want this kind of view, oh, I probably don't want a data grid, do I? I need a simple form iterator. And I'll need to be imported. Does this have an array input expects a single child, which must be a form iterator component. A form iterator is a component rendering a field array. For instance, the simple form iterator component, which is what we just pasted, displays an array of React admin inputs in an unordered list, one subform by list item. It also provides controls for adding and removing a subrecord. And that could be customized, etc. But that's why nothing was showing up there. So, whoops. Let's wait for the front end to reload. There we go. And refresh, and hey look, video clips. Fake video clips. Dummy data. What's this complaining about? Oh, we have an import that we're not using. Yeah. Okay. And of course we could add more fake data here to see more things here. And we can also interact in the UI, simulating adding more things. I don't think... Oh, interesting. That button clears the whole list. Okay. In the UI, I think I don't want the ID. You wouldn't edit it anyway. So you have a title, and is there an input that would show us a preview of... Wait. All right, I don't think, at least right now, we don't have a field for like a thumbnail for each individual video clip. That might actually be nice to have at some point, to be able to like look at the stream and then look at the individual clips and have like a thumbnail for each of them. What else might we want to show in this kind of summary view? I guess we'd want to also see the start and duration. In which case, we can't just return the simple view data anymore. We need to in fact return either I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a custom video clip inline view. And we don't need the description here or the URL. Or do we? We do want the URL. Well, URL is not the right thing here. Hold on. Where do I refer to this as URL? These should be URIs. Okay, side thing. Oh, right, because I called it... Aw, I can't call the URL on the... Okay. I could change the schema. Wait. This is the model. Does the schema also say URL? Aw, it does. Well, that's annoying. Does go to references work? Also, let's put that full screen. No, it does not. Okay, well, I'm not going to bother changing the model or the schema. But everywhere else where I'm passing stuff around, I'm going to refer to it as a URI. Why am I doing this? Well, what I don't want to... It's misleading, right? Because what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to have an actual URL that like you can go to on a web browser to pull up a video clip or an audio clip. What I want to do is I want to have something that represents where the media is stored, whether that's locally or like an S3 or something, in a way that will allow a service to potentially serve it up. But I don't want to imply that you could just have a URL that you could go to at any time and see it. Like, what if the media has been archived into S3 Glacier or something? So that's my thinking here. And that does mean that I, at least, since I don't want to bother changing the database model quite yet, I might go back and do that later. I'm going to at least change these. Now, where do I refer to a URL? In Rust files, please. It's not a model or a schema. Okay, so we have a couple places here where this is a URI. And we can see right, this needs to be a URL because this represents the fields that we are changing in the database. But this needs to be a URI because this is representing the data coming from the client. Okay, and again, this should be a URL. And there should be a URI. And we still have something red. Video clip. Oh, this is the record. Okay, so that will be a URL. Okay, and so there shouldn't be any other errors. Okay, great. Now, getting back on track to what I was actually trying to achieve here is to have a video clip inline view where we're going to have a URI and a title, duration, start time, created and updated app we don't need, and stream ID is not really necessary because the kind of implied in this is this data is going to be passed around along with the stream, so there's no sense in passing the stream around either. We want the ID because that's how we're going to match things up. I guess thinking. Now, I could have two versions of this. One that represents what the client sends the backend, and one that represents what the backend returns. And the difference there would be the one that the front end sends the backend, the ID would be optional, which would represent a new video clip being added. Or I could make ID always optional. And use it for both. Right, and so now we're going to pass around video clip inline view. Of course, to do this now I have to wrap this in a sum because it's optional. We don't need created or updated app, which is a benefit of not using that other type. So URI will be like file, sure, something like that. Duration. This should be PT 10M. Well, I guess 20M. There we go. 20 minutes. Start time. The very beginning. All right. Now, what's it complaining about? Expected video clip symbol view found inline view. That's because we didn't update the stream detail view to actually use this type. So video clips should be a vector video clip inline view. And no more error. Going back to edit now. Let's do this side by side. This should somewhat resemble. So we'll have another text input with a source being URI. And then it's a good attempt, but no. Text input source equals start time. And how about duration? Nope. Now, text input is not the right thing here. I don't think there is a built-in widget for React Admin for kind of a time duration. I could be wrong. There's a time input, but that's for a specific time. We might want to make a custom input type for durations at some point. It'd be a little bit more friendly than expecting a user to enter an ISO 8601 duration, but whatever. All right, let's build and redeploy our containers. Just a little warning about an unused import. It's probably what one of these two things here are down here, right? There we go. Oh yeah, we don't use this anymore. Unused import from str. Yeah, don't use that. Hey, no warnings anymore. All right, so if I were to refresh, did we not? We didn't restart the front end because we didn't change anything in the front end as far as Docker is concerned, so that's fine. I'll just click into front end and restart. All right. So let's give this a shot again. Hey, all right. So we have, if we maximize this, we can actually see it all in one row. So we see title, URI, start time, and duration. Now, some things occur to me. One of those things is that, as we saw at the beginning of the stream, the new stream ingestion API returns a bunch of metadata related to the video clips. Our database model doesn't have places to store all those things. So let me go over here. First of all, there we go. That's in progress. Hey, look. I actually wrote all this down and forgot about it. Okay. So let's show an inline table of video clips on the stream edit and show views. Well, we did half of that. We'll do show views after we get everything working. So the show view is like looking at the record rather than editing it. So if we go to streams and I guess there's not really a way to access that here. Oh yeah, here. We click show and then we see this. And this is, 1, broken, but 2, doesn't incorporate the things we've added to the edit view, the array input. We can have an array field or whatever it's called to show the associated clips here for the stream. We can do that. Let's add a custom button that we'll call Stream Ingestion API. So we'll probably do that last. The other thing we need to do is we need to do a database migration to add all these additional columns to the table. And while we're doing that, and this is also out of date, because we're not going to have MD5, and then change URL to URI while I'm at it. So I am going to take a little bit of break, a little bit of a break to get some water, because my coffee has run out. And when I come back in just a minute or two, we'll pick up here. We'll do some database stuff. And then we'll update the CRUD API. Actually, that's a good thought. I guess we haven't actually implemented the stream update or get to actually get the data for the related video clips. So we do need to do that. Let me add that as a note here. So keep track of what's what. Okay. And then add embedded video clips list to stream update get one APIs. Okay. So there we go. So, like I said, I'll be back in just a minute. I'm gonna get some water, and then we'll continue with part 2 of the stream. All right, BRB.